What's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel, Angel Says Art. I woke up wanting to start a new piece of Santa Muerte. So that's what we're going to do. And I decided to film and let's see how far we get today. I'm probably not going to finish. I never do finish a painting. But let's see. Let's get into it. See you on the other side. I was dancing with you. So, as you see from the thumbnail, I actually finished this painting in 6 hours. I sat down for one day and finished a painting. Let's talk about this. The reason this is so astonishing for me is because I have spent years and years of developing myself as an artist with certain habits and how I feel about myself and how I feel about my artistry and overcoming things like imposter syndrome. And when I say it's been years, it has been years. I've been a painter my entire life, and I really mean that. I started with acrylic paints when I was 5 years old, 5 or 6 years old. But I've had a very complicated relationship with art. And I want to talk just a little bit about that in hopes that maybe others can maybe hear themselves in what I'm saying and that you are not alone. I am the type of person that in order for me to do my best work, I don't always have to be in a good place, emotionally, but I think if I am not in a good place mentally, then it's not going to work out for me. And let me explain. I have said previously in my other videos that I had a rough childhood that was full of trauma. And I went into my early adulthood carrying said trauma and not being okay mentally, and also not knowing that I was not okay mentally. Was I still making art here and there? Yes, absolutely. I've never stopped making art, but I never reached sort of the pinnacle of my art making. And oftentimes that takes time anyway, but what I mean is I never felt like I was able to make art freely. I always felt like something was blocking my process. And I could never finish a painting. I did not understand it. Um I didn't understand why it was so hard for me to finish a painting. And then fast forward to kind of now. I began working on myself. I began seeking out therapy for my traumas. I realized that I had deep rooted mental health issues that I was not aware of. And I got diagnosed for anxiety and depression. And I'm on medication now. Live, laugh, Lexapro. Yes. Woohoo. Love to have my Lexapro and my coffee in the morning as a part of my self care regimen. Um, but through all of that personal healing for my mental stability, it opened up a gateway for my creativity. For me personally, I began to really see that the truth of it was that without the clarity of my mental health, my creativity could not fully come through and come forth the way that I needed it to. And remember when I said before that I just felt like I could never continuously finish a painting. And, you know, through much dedication to self, I realized that I do definitely have ADHD. I am not currently taking medication for that, But what I have found is that once I started to stabilize myself mentally, for me with therapy and medication, like I said before, my ADHD symptoms became so much easier to deal with. I was able to formulate a process of, you know, self care that worked for my particular situation. And I call that stabilizing. Once I was able to stabilize myself, then my creativity started to flourish. It's been 8 years. I had to think about that for a sec. It's been 8 years since I went through what I call a sort of like serious transformation in my life. It that was, I would say, 8 years ago is when I had a series of events that catapulted me into change. I was already, like I said, on a path to change, and I had did things for myself, but then I was thrust into change. And I had a near death experience. And then right after that, um, I kind of had a minor, very minor mental break, but that was because I was at the like on the cusp of losing it because of my anxiety and depression. But that is when I was also diagnosed with PTSD, and I didn't know what was happening to me at the time. And so, I guess I could say it wasn't really a mental break. I was just, my psyche just couldn't take the intense panic attacks and all the other things that were starting to happen to me very frequently at the time. So once I started getting a handle on that with therapy and medication, that's what started it all, was my panic attacks and being out in public and being deathly afraid of being outside, and having people look at me. It was very interesting. Uh, I'm being sarcastic. Experience. It was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. And mixed with that, I had insomnia and I was never quite sleeping well. There was just so many things going on. If you would like to have me do a video about that by itself and how that affected me in my artistry, like more in depth, I'll be happy to do that. Let me know. But once I was going through all that, that was at the beginning, like 8 years ago. And then shortly after that, I had a spiritual awakening. Oh my goodness. It was like rolling thunder. It just kept coming and coming and coming and coming. But these things catapulted me into change. And I had to face my fears, and I had to face myself, and I had to face the world. I had to face my own feelings, my own thoughts, and so many other things, doing all of that while trying to be a creative and trying to be a wife and trying to be a mother. To say that at times it was overwhelming is not even, um, that doesn't even do it justice. So, what ended up happening was right after I started having my spiritual awakening, um, from there I became less religious and more spiritual. And then I was on my way to better health by fixing my gut system, which I had learned was really, really, really messed up. It was affecting my sleep. It was affecting my weight. It was affecting my skin. Um, so I had to get on top of that, and I did. And now this brings us to right now, where I am still living in constant rotation of making sure that I am staying healthy and well. And, I just went through a situation where I changed my diet again because I got flagged in my blood work that I was the level before pre-diabetes. So I was pre-diabetes. So I went through another major health change. All of these things for me had a very, very deep effect on me as an artist. And here I am now at 41 years old. And I can honestly say, I, for the first time in my life, feel that I can create freely. After nine, almost 9 years of actively and consistently working on self, researching, showing up, fighting against myself to really get myself in a position where I was able to think straight and able to just be in the world and also say to myself, it's okay when I'm not okay. And it took me 9 years to give myself permission and not beat myself up that this was my process of what I needed to go through as an artist. This is what I needed in order to reach my personal full potential as an artist. And I can happily share with you that I am here now and it feels so great. And so with this painting that you see me doing is of Santa Muerte, which I'm not going to go too much into it here, but it's a spiritual deity that a lot of people work with. And she is definitely a part of the deities that I work with in my spiritual practice. And I just woke up on this morning where I did this piece and I said to myself, I had a tough week. I had felt a great sense of despair about the world and the things that we are going through. And when I look at Santa Muerte, I see love and I see hope. Um, and I said, I am going to paint her. And so I set out to do it. I went and got a canvas that I had a specific size in mind. And I went to the store, got a canvas, and came back and started cracking. Creating her took me over. I was in a trance. It was a spiritual experience. I was unstoppable. I felt the fury and the passion and the love inside of me to paint this painting. It was so effortless. I do want to actually say this though. And I would say in the past year or two, I would say the past 2 years, I have finished to completion, I would say 3 or 4 paintings. And that is phenomenal for me because I would have paintings that would never get finished, or sometimes they would sit for 3 or 4 years before I was able to um, complete something. And in the past 2 years, a couple of the ones that I completed actually were paintings that I revisited from the past and really brought them to fruition, which was so, so satisfying for me to go dig in the archives and find a painting that I never finished like 10 years ago and brought it to the current. And my style has changed so many times over the years that doing those paintings was even more fun because I got to paint it using the style that I'm in right now, using the style that I paint with right now, which is really vibrant. It's really busy. It has a lot of movement, semi realism. It's very eclectic, uh, very loud. It's kind of where I am at. And I think I said movement, right? Lots of movement. And it was so wonderful to realize this painting in my current style. I must say, however, 6 hours is the quickest that I have ever finished a painting from start to finish of this size without going back and being like, I want to change this or I want to keep going or right. What is it that they say about artists? There's a quote like knowing when to stop, how do we know when to stop? That's like one of the most important things you learn as an artist. Um, I knew exactly where to stop. I knew exactly when I was perfectly happy. And gosh, I just want to say that I I can't explain it enough in words how satisfying that was for me. I have waited so long to be able to feel that moment. And I was like, I knew this was going to be a special moment and that I had to get it on camera to share with you all. I hope this can help other artists realize that you're not alone. And if this is something that you suffer with even now, um, it's tough. And I hear you. And I encourage you to keep going and keep pushing. Don't give up. I hope that you found this inspiring in a way because I know I'm inspired to keep going. I used to be kind of afraid that there would be a moment where I would like finish a painting and then tomorrow wake up and I couldn't do it again, like it was a one off thing. And if you understand how that feels, don't worry, you're not alone. It will pass. This is your new greatness. So from here on out, I'm just going to let the video play and just let you indulge in watching me just do this process and bring this wonderful, beautiful vision that I had in my mind to fruition. I'm so glad that you're here to share it with me.
The next day.
And I just woke up. Um, and I love this when you work on a painting or a piece of art and then you have to sleep on it, right? Because you got to get a visual of like what you've been doing. I'm so happy to have actually completed a piece of art for this channel, like in one day. And let me tell you, as an artist, that doesn't happen for me. Here she is, my Santa Muerte. Ah, now I'm I'm still deciding if I'm going to add oil. I think I might add oil to this one, just so you know, to add even more texture, like in here. The acrylic added some texture, but I want big texture. Hello, Astro. Hello, Kitty.